The sun rose over the South China Sea, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and gold. The gentle light shimmered across the waves, hinting at the promise of a new day. But beneath this tranquil surface, tension simmered, an uneasy calm that belied the storm brewing just beyond the horizon. Scarborough Shoal looked peaceful, its waters glassy and still, as if untouched by conflict. The only sounds were the distant calls of seabirds and the rhythmic splash of oars. Filipino fishing boats, simple wooden outriggers, bobbed near the rocky outcrops. Their crews, many of whom had fished these waters for generations, hoped for a peaceful day and a good catch to bring home to their families. For them, these waters were not just a livelihood, but a legacy. Suddenly, a China Coast Guard ship appeared on the horizon, its red stripe a warning. The vessel cut through the calm, its presence impossible to ignore, casting a long shadow over the fishermen. The Chinese vessel closed in, radios blaring unintelligible warnings in harsh metallic tones. Its aggressive maneuvers left no doubt about its intentions. The air was thick with anxiety as the ship circled, asserting its dominance. Yet, the Filipino fishermen stood their ground, refusing to abandon their traditional waters. Their faces were set with determination, their hands gripping the rails of their boats as they braced for what might come next. Without warning, the Chinese ship unleashed a powerful water cannon, drenching a Filipino boat and nearly capsizing it. The force of the blast sent supplies and equipment tumbling across the deck. The crew scrambled for cover, shouting to one another above the roar of water. Though shaken, they remained unbowed, clinging to their vessel and to their right to fish these contested waters. This was no accident, it was a calculated show of force, a stark reminder of China's growing ambitions in the region. The message was clear: these waters were being claimed, and resistance would be met with intimidation. The incident was more than a local dispute. It was a flashpoint in a larger geopolitical struggle. Scarborough Shoal had become a symbol of sovereignty, pride, and the contest for control in the South China Sea. The world's attention turned to Scarborough Shoal as international media arrived and analysts speculated about the next move. All eyes were on the United States and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, waiting to see if they would intervene or stand aside. For the fishermen, for their families, and for the nations watching, the stakes had never been higher. The morning's events would echo far beyond these waters, shaping the future of the region. In Washington, D.C., news of the Scarborough Shoal incident landed on Secretary of State Marco Rubio's desk. Rubio, a seasoned foreign policy hawk, now faced a critical test: how to respond to China's aggression. As America's top diplomat, Rubio's job was to reassure the Philippines and send a clear message to Beijing. The challenge: support an ally, uphold international law, and avoid direct military conflict. The Scarborough Shoal incident became the focal point of Rubio's diplomatic strategy. His response would define America's stance on China's challenge to the global order. The world watched as Rubio prepared for a major diplomatic showdown. The stakes were not just regional, they were global. America's credibility was on the line. Scarborough Shoal, Panatag Shoal to the Philippines, Huangyandao to China, is a small chain of reefs, but its significance is immense. Located within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, it's rich in fish, oil, and gas, and sits astride vital shipping lanes. China claims nearly the entire South China Sea, ignoring a 2016 International Tribunal ruling that favored the Philippines. Since 2012, China's Coast Guard and maritime militia have blocked Filipino fishermen, escalating tensions and challenging Philippine sovereignty. Control of the shoal means control over resources and trade, making it a dangerous flashpoint. Every confrontation risks spiraling into a wider conflict. Secretary Rubio responded swiftly and forcefully. On September 12, 2025, he condemned China's attempt to declare Scarborough Shoal a nature preserve, calling it a blatant move to annex Philippine territory. Rubio's statement was direct: China's actions were unlawful and a threat to the international order. He called on Beijing to respect the 2016 tribunal ruling and reaffirmed unwavering U.S. support for the Philippines. China protested, accusing the U.S. of interference, but Rubio's message was clear: America would not stand by. The standoff became a test of resolve, not just for the Philippines but for the entire region. Rubio's words transformed the dispute into a global issue of principle. The U.S. drew a firm line, signaling readiness to back its ally with action. The world took notice. Rubio's strong stance on the Indo-Pacific rests on a deep and enduring alliance with the Philippines, a partnership forged over decades of shared history, mutual defense, and cultural ties. From the days following World War II to the present, the two nations have stood together through challenges and triumphs, building a relationship rooted in trust and cooperation. In July 2025, Rubio met President Marcos Jr. in Washington, reaffirming their commitment to security, freedom of navigation, and the rule of law in the region. The meeting underscored the importance of the alliance in facing new regional threats and highlighted the leaders' shared vision for a stable, prosperous Indo-Pacific. The alliance is more than military, it's economic too. Trade agreements and investment initiatives have brought new opportunities for both countries, strengthening industries and creating jobs. American companies are increasingly investing in the Philippines, while Filipino businesses benefit from access to U.S. markets and technology. The Luzon Economic Corridor, a joint initiative, aims to boost Philippine infrastructure and resilience. This ambitious project includes new highways, ports, and digital infrastructure, all designed to connect communities and drive economic growth across the archipelago. By strengthening economic ties, the U.S. helps the Philippines resist Chinese pressure and assert its sovereignty. American aid and investment support local workers, modernize industries, and provide critical resources for development, making the Philippines less vulnerable to external influence. This renewed partnership marks a significant shift from previous Philippine administrations, signaling a return to a strong pro-American stance. Under President Duterte, the Philippines had moved closer to China, but Marcos Jr. has pivoted back, emphasizing the value of the U.S. alliance for national security and economic progress. The alliance is now a cornerstone of U.S. strategy in the Indo-Pacific, with joint military exercises and coordinated patrols in the South China Sea. These efforts deter aggression and ensure that international waters remain open and secure for all. Personal rapport between Rubio and Marcos Jr. has solidified this bond, allowing for open dialogue and swift cooperation. Their mutual respect and shared goals have made it easier to address challenges and seize new opportunities together. Their shared vision is the foundation for robust U.S. support in the Scarborough Shoal crisis, where American backing has been crucial in defending Philippine territorial rights and deterring further escalation. Today, the Philippines stands stronger with America at its side, ready to face the future together as partners in peace, security, and prosperity. Words alone aren't enough. America is backing the Philippines with real, tangible support, demonstrating that its commitment goes far beyond diplomatic statements or symbolic gestures. In February 2025, the Philippines was exempted from a U.S. security aid freeze, receiving $336 million for defense modernization, a significant investment at a critical time for regional security. This funding is vital for upgrading the Philippine military and Coast Guard, allowing them to acquire advanced ships, radar systems, and surveillance technology that were previously out of reach. In Congress, bipartisan leaders urged Senator Rubio to protect this aid, warning that any cuts would not only weaken a key ally, but also risk emboldening China's aggressive actions in the region. U.S. support provides the Philippine Coast Guard with better vessels, state-of-the-art surveillance, and advanced training, enabling them to respond more effectively to maritime threats and emergencies. The goal is clear: empower the Philippines to defend its waters, deter Chinese incursions, and maintain freedom of navigation in contested areas. By building up the Philippines' capabilities, the U.S. helps reduce the risk of a crisis that could escalate and potentially draw in American forces, preserving peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific. Executive action and strong congressional backing together show a unified American commitment, sending a powerful signal to both allies and adversaries. The strategy is to help the Philippines enforce international law, protect its territory, and ensure that the rules-based order in the region is upheld. By strengthening its ally, the U.S. creates a more stable, resilient Indo-Pacific, one where smaller nations can stand up to coercion and assert their rights. The message to Beijing is unmistakable. The U.S. stands firmly with the Philippines, and any attempts to undermine regional security will be met with unified resistance. At the heart of the alliance is the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. In 2023, the U.S. clarified that attacks on Philippine public vessels, including Coast Guard ships, anywhere in the South China Sea could trigger American intervention. Every Chinese act of aggression now risks invoking this treaty. The stakes of each encounter have skyrocketed. Rubio and U.S. officials have repeatedly affirmed the treaty's ironclad nature. This is a clear red line. An attack on the Philippine Coast Guard is an attack on the Philippines. The treaty gives Manila the confidence to patrol its waters, knowing America stands behind it. The near collisions and water cannon incidents are constant tests of this commitment. The Mutual Defense Treaty is the ultimate deterrent, and the foundation of U.S. strategy in the region. The world is watching every move. The conflict has spilled into the economic arena. In October 2025, China imposed punitive port fees on U.S.-owned and flagged vessels, a direct response to American support for the Philippines. The U.S. retaliated with targeted sanctions on Chinese companies and vessels tied to aggressive policies. This tit-for-tat marks a new front in the rivalry, with both sides willing to absorb economic pain. Sanctions and port fees disrupt global trade, raising costs and uncertainty for businesses worldwide. The economic fallout adds another layer of risk to an already volatile situation. The battle over Scarborough Shoal now entangles the engines of global commerce. Rubio's bold response has far-reaching implications for Indo-Pacific stability. This is more than a territorial dispute. It's a test of whether international law or brute force will shape the future. America's support for the Philippines reassures smaller nations facing Chinese pressure. The U.S. strategy, diplomatic resolve, military aid, and economic pressure aims to deter aggression and prevent escalation. But the risks remain high. China shows no sign of backing down, and every incident could spark a wider crisis. The region is a tinderbox, with peace hanging by a thread. The Scarborough Shoal standoff is a marathon, not a sprint. Long-term stability depends on sustained U.S. commitment and clear communication. The events of 2025 have drawn the battle lines for a new era of strategic competition. The world's eyes remain fixed on the South China Sea,